Hi, everyone. Welcome to my presentation on AI in the 3 communicative modes. And my name is Ngan. There you go. Okay. Oh, forgot to mention. Oh, the image on the left is actually generated by AI. I typed in world language, artificial intelligence, and that's what it spat out for me. That's created by Microsoft Bing. Okay, so the objective of my presentation, hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll be able to create or have ideas on tasks that you can create with AI to help enhance your students' communication skills under the 3 modes of communication: interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational. So these 3 modes of communication are Hawaii State Standards and ACFL's anchor standards. Okay, so let's start with an overview of what generative AI is. A lot of you already know what it is, but I know people are starting at different places with AI, so I just want to be mindful of that. So let's start with just what it is. So it is AI, artificial intelligence system that you can use to generate new content, such as text, images, or music. I have not used AI to generate music yet, but if I was a music teacher, I think that would be super cool. But and then it involves training AI models on large data sets to learn patterns and generate original content that resembles human created output. So a lot of what it creates is very human-like, whereas before with Google Translate, it just didn't, but now it does. So the scary thing about it is that you can't really detect whether or not the content has been generated by AI. So there are AI tools out there that claims that they can detect whether this work was plagiarized, but there's lots of cases where AI would falsely accuse students of plagiarizing when they didn't, right? So in this new era of AI in education, it's ubiquitous, it's undetectable. Okay. And before, I don't want this presentation to be about selling AI. I also want you guys to be informed of the potential risk. So AI is like, it gathers all the data and all the input. So its brain has all of this input out there. And then it spits out, it summarizes all of it and it spits out what's mainstream. So what it generates is really just what mainstream what people think, right? So there is a lot of inaccurate and biased content, right? So before, like from my readings, before AI, if you ask AI to give you a list of jobs for white men, it'll give you specific jobs, and then ask it again, but for Black men, and it gives you very stereotypical jobs for Black men, right? Or if you ask AI to generate an image of a school girl, the image is very sexualized, right? Because it's like the sum of the data that it collects out there. And then you ask it to generate an image of a school boy, and it's an ordinary boy, right? So that comes to say that we have to be very careful with the content that we use with AI. I checked ChatGPT again this morning, and they've addressed a lot of the biases, but it's still not going to be perfect. So it's really important that you think really critically with the content that you use, really check it, and also teach your students to think critically when they use AI and all the potential biases that comes with it. Okay, so over the summer, me and a few of my colleagues at Iolani School, we did a book study. So the book that we read is The AI Classroom, Top Right-Hand Corner, super blurry. It's a great book, and it introduced this prompt engineer framework, right? So this is the framework that I use to prompt ChatGPT with what I want it to generate, right? So the framework is prep edit from the book, but me and my team at Iolani School, we decided to adapt it and just make it easier. So we call it prep it. So let me walk you through what that is. Okay, prep, P stands for introduce a question with a prompt. So what do you want it to do? Okay, an example would be create a lesson plan about hobbies, right? You tell it what to do, but that's not enough. If you want to generate what you want, give it a role, role. You, AI, you are an engaging Chinese language teacher at a private school in Hawaii. And then you want to be more explicit with your instructions, E. You want the lesson plan to be based on ACFL standards and focus on building interpretive and interpersonal speaking skills. The learners are ACFL novice high learners. So as I'm writing this prompt, I'm thinking about my 8th graders, right? So they're in ACFL. I want them to be exposed to materials that are ACFL intermediate high, ACFL novice high. And then you got to set parameters, last P. The lesson is 55 minutes long. Okay, so let's take a look at the result of this. If you are new to ChatGPT, the link is chat.openai.com to sign up for it. So it is free to use. 3.5 model is free. 4.0, I like it more, but my demo today will just be 3.5. 4 is not free, it's $20 a month. So for 3.5, I would use this prompt. Let me see. I think I have an example right. Give me a second. So let's put in this prompt. Okay, that I created right here. The PREP. There you go. Let's see if I like what it gives me. Okay, ignore that for now. Okay, wow, look at this lesson plan. It comes with an objective. Wow, and it uses really nice action verbs. And then ACTFL standards, it listed it out, wonderful. And some materials. And I asked it for just interpretive and interpersonal, but it also has presentational. That's fine, it gives it more than I need. It breaks it down for you, a typical lesson plan. Warm up, an introduction, vocabulary presentation, vocabulary matching, and a group discussion, and some personal hobbies, and some role play. Wow. I think it's actually okay. I don't love it, but so it comes with an assessment too that you can use as an exit ticket or some extension activities. But I don't love it because it doesn't really fit my style. So let's have it regenerate for me. Do I like this more? Procedure, vocabulary building, interpretive listening, sentence formation. I like the interpretive listening piece. Oh, okay, and it breaks it down, like you can have students pair up and then group presentation. So I like that flow of it. But again, just use your judgment whether or not you like it or not, and what you could take from it. So it's a great brainstorming tool. And sometimes as a teacher, I forget like the assessment piece. It's good to just check to see if they met the goals of the day. And it's like, hey, that's a pretty cool activity, cool. And that's that. And I want to also emphasize that there's the it part after that, right? So the I stands for identify biases and misinformation in the output, like the lesson plan I just generated. I just had to take another look and see if there's any misinformation. In terms of facts, I don't think there's misinformation in that lesson plan, but there could be if you're trying to generate other content, right? For me, I just use my judgment whether or not I think it fits for the context of my classroom. And then I move on to I from T. T is to transform that lesson plan to make it fit that would work for my specific group of students. So prep it. Now let me give you some more explicit examples of interpretive listening and reading tasks that you can create for your learners. Okay, interpretive. So if let's say your goal is to create reading materials and comprehension check activities and assessments. So this is a prompt that you could use. Okay, so write a reading passage about Confucius in Chinese. Okay, so that's the P, right? Prompt it. And then you move into R, give it a role. You are a 12th grade teacher who teaches AP Chinese, okay? And then you want to move to E, which is explicit instructions. Write them at the reading level of ACTFL Intermediate High, which is the proficiency goal for AP. And then give it some parameters, the last P for prep. The passage should be no longer than 500 Chinese characters because sometimes it spits out really, really long passages and that's super overwhelming. So that's the prep, P-R-E-P. And I added this extra task because I want them to create a reading comprehension true false quiz based on that text. And I would love the answer key, please. Okay, so let's see what it generates for me. Let's just use one of these. Okay. All right. Okay, just looking at this text, I feel like it is a bit above what my students can handle, but sometimes it's good. I want them to reach a bit higher. I've learned with ChatGPT that it doesn't do a wonderful job at generating content for novice learners, which makes sense because all the input and the data that's out there are written for like a native level, right? So if you wanted to really simplify it, it's hard at the novice level. But when I do use it to generate novice level work, I like some of the word choices that it uses. So then I would have to rewrite it myself, but using some of the word choices that it recommends, which is pretty cool. So let's say I like this, and then there's like the comprehension questions down here, and it tells me the answer keys right here. Again, if you don't like this, you can have it regenerate or be more specific. Like, can you make it simpler? Can you make it simpler? Right? And then just see if you like it more, and just having that dialogue with AI. Oh, that's much shorter. Okay, maybe I like this more. Okay, so that's one way, an example of how you can generate reading materials. And let's say you want your students to watch a YouTube video to practice their listening skills, right? Or this could be a sub day or not. And you want to generate some comprehension check activities and assessments that follows that YouTube video. I recommend that you install this Chrome extension called GLASP to get the YouTube summary. Okay, so let's take a look at what GLASP is. Okay, GLASP. Okay, so take a look at this. Okay, I already installed it. It's great. So now let's go to a YouTube video that you want the students to read or listen to. So this video is a Spanish speaker, it's a Spanish vlog, right? So I want to make sure you guys can hear my sound. Okay. Okay.
Estas son las comisuras de los labios.
Wonderful. Okay, let's say you want your students to watch the entire 6 minutes. So right here, this thing right here, transcript and summary, this will pop up after you've installed the Chrome extension, GLASP. And so you can go and check whatever language that you want the students to learn. And obviously in this context, this example, it'll be Spanish. And then you can see like the summary and the transcript of the whole video. Wonderful. And what you can do now is click this, view AI summary. And it opens, goes to your chat, and just wait. Beautiful. So this is the whole transcript from that video. And you go back to my slides with this prompt. Let me paste this really quick and then go over with you what it says. Okay, so it says create comprehension questions in English based on the video transcript. I like to have my comprehension questions in English, but you can have this in target language if you wish, just let it know. And the comprehension questions should be based on the criteria of the integrated performance assessments, which are word recognition, main idea detection, supporting detail detection, guessing meaning from context, and inferences. So give me at least 10 questions. I always like to ask AI to give me a lot more than I need so I can pick and choose, right? And of course, don't forget the answer key. And here's the transcript. But in this case, the transcript was already up here. So I'll just erase that and see what it gives me. Oh, beautiful answer key. Great. Now let's check to see if these questions really do address these categories of the integrated performance assessment. Word recognition. What does speaker use to make her lips speak larger in the beginning of the video?
People don't have too many people.
Oh my gosh. And how does the speaker describe the texture of the bread? Okay. What is the main purpose of the video? So I think that's a pretty fair question to ask anybody. So this open-ended. And what ingredients does the speaker mention for making the sandwich? Okay, and a few other ones. Guessing meaning from context. What do you think ASMR stands for when the speaker says this? Okay, so guessing the meaning from context. Inferences. Why does the speaker suggest that one should add a little oil to the toasted? And then some more inferences questions. So again, as a teacher, if you like it, great. If you don't, have it regenerate. Have it generate even more.
20 people for her mother's funeral.
Oh, okay. Yes. So this is one way that you can, if you like multiple choice questions, go back and edit. Give me at least 10 multiple choice questions, right? And see what it does. Okay. And please give me the answer key. And it usually does do a good job. If it doesn't, then you ask it to give you the answer key. So there you go. So this is
I
something you
love
could do.
to
Yeah.
participate in it.
Okay.
I love to
So have a question?
attend.
All right, so I'm going to move on. So that's one way to have your students watch videos and create comprehension questions. Another one for interpretive tasks would be to create customized images to support reading and listening activities. Sometimes we like to develop stories with our students and they want to have a character and they want to own it. Let's say the character we developed in class from our story is a panda in Hawaii at a beach, relaxing and surfing. I doubt we can find any image like this on Google Images, or maybe you have a very great artist in your class who can create this. But with AI, you can actually just have it do it for you. So I recommend Microsoft Bing. The link is right here. So let's take a look. Bing, do I have it right here? Here you go. So this is an example. Let's just give you another example. Let's do zebra. Let's do rainforest. Zebra in the rainforest. Cocktail, yeah, that's kind of fun. And let's try it, see if you can swim. Why not? Let's try it and just wait for it to generate. And Microsoft Bing is free. If you look here on the top right-hand corner, this thing is called boosts. So you get like 100 boosts. Every time you generate an image, you lose a boost. So once you get to 0, then it's not free anymore. But that's plenty for you to get started with. And there's other tools that you can use after you're done with this. So, oh, wow, this is cool. Wow. These images are beautiful. I think my students would love this if it's customized for them. Right, so that's one tool. I know that Will Smith uses another tool. So there's so many tools out there that you can use to use text to image. Okay, another one of my favorites is Speechify. I've been using this a whole lot lately. It's to create dialogues or paragraphs and assign AI actors to voice them, right? Before I would use whatever like textbook gives me, but now I get to kind of create my own with the support of ChatGPT and Speechify. So what it does is text to speech. So you give it the text and it gives you the audio, right? So let's say, for instance, this is a typical dialogue for novice level, right? Let's say I have this in my lesson plan. I want to assess my students to see if they can understand the main idea of this dialogue. So this one is pretty much, what is your name? My name is Xiaomei. And you? My name is Li Peng. Oh, where are you from? I'm from Beijing. Okay, so I would copy and paste this from my draft somewhere. And then I go to Speechify, voice recorder. And then, so this is, I'll go over the pricing in a bit, but it is free with some restrictions. Okay, so give me a sec as it loads. There you go. So we create a new project, AI voiceover. Okay, so I have that text ready, right? Copy, paste, voila, right? It's on here, it's pretty quick. I'm gonna leave the A, B there for now. And again, this voice actor doesn't speak Chinese. I think she's American English. So I'm gonna have her speak, I'm gonna have a Chinese speaker. Xiao Xiao, I've used her a lot. It's a female. So I'm gonna have Xiao Xiao read this. And the thing about Xiao Xiao, sorry, is that if this is for my 7th graders, like novice mid-level students, I want it to be slower. So maybe at 35%, great. And sometimes you want to add a pause because you want students to kind of process the language a little bit, especially when they're new. And then I will go here and I want a male voice. I know Yun Yang is a pretty good male voice. And again, I would adjust him to speak slower for my students. 35, please. And add a pause because this is the novice learners. Wonderful. And have a female, again, let's have her Chinese Xiao Xiao again. So they're having a dialogue, male, female voice. And let's say I can have somebody speak English too. So let's move her up, move, and move. Okay, listen to the following dialogue and answer the comprehension questions. Okay, wonderful. And now let's play.
Listen to the following dialogue and answer the comprehension questions. A.
Oh, sorry, let me remove the A and B. We don't need that anymore.
名字
我叫小美，
你呢？
我叫李鹏，你来自哪里？
There you go. I think the speed is actually very reasonable for my novice learners. And the quality of it sounds like an audio I can get from any textbook company. It sounds very native-like. I like it a lot. And if you don't like it, you can actually change the actors. I know for Spanish, they have like a bunch of different accents, the Peru accent, Cuba, Chile. So lots to choose from. Okay. Now, let me go over the pricing. Okay. So it is free, but you can't download it. So maybe there's a workaround if you want to record the audio on your phone or screen recording, maybe you can go around that way. There's 10 minutes of voice generation just for the free. You can try that first and see if you like it. And you can move over to the basic one, which is not cheap, but I do use it a whole lot. So I like it. And I don't like to, if I could only pay for 2 AI tools right now, I would probably just pay for ChatGPT 4.0 because I use it a lot to generate content. And I would probably have Speechify as the second one. But if you have to choose one, I think ChatGPT is my favorite. Okay, moving on to interpersonal tasks. Hey, interpersonal writing, where you want students to text with someone, right? So you can use, if you want your students to use AI as a tutor to help build their writing skills, interpersonal writing skills, then you can possibly use this task, this prompt. Engage in a conversation with me in Chinese. You are modern day Confucius. Use language at no higher than Afro Intermediate Mid or Intermediate High. Use colloquial Chinese, not classical Chinese, because I want them to learn more modern day Chinese, and do not translate the conversation into English. Okay, oftentimes it does translate it automatically because I asked it to be a tutor, and I don't want my students to have to rely on the English. I want them to be really immersed in the language. So let's try out this task, and let's go over here, new text, new chat. Okay, and then now let me have, I did have my students practice chatting with Confucius before. Okay, let me ask it, move it. Where is your hometown? Okay, and then it chats back. Oh, I'm from Shandong province. How about you? Where's your hometown? And then I say, well, my hometown is in Hawaii, for instance. Okay, and then it chats with you, right? So this is cool. So if you want to assign this to be an assignment, you just have the students like share this chat up here. And there's a link, and you can have them post this on learning management system that your school uses. Okay, so that's practicing interpersonal writing. And another one, and for interpersonal speaking task, there's you can have the students download a Chrome extension. Again, this is only for students that have an iPad or they have a Chrome browser. This does not apply to iPad users. For iPads, for the interpersonal speaking task, it can only be done through the ChatGPT app. So the students need the app to speak to it, kind of like Siri, but better. But you need the app if you have an iPad. But for most of your learners, if your learners have a laptop or a Chromebook, you can follow these steps. So first download this voice control for ChatGPT. Okay, so voice control, for download this. I already have it downloaded. And then you share this prompt with your students, okay? Let me show you guys the prompt. So I'm going a little bit fast, but I will pause to go over this prompt. Okay, so engage in a conversation with me in Spanish. So this is a Spanish example. Ask me simple questions in Spanish because I want to practice my speaking, right? Ask me one question at a time. If you don't tell it to ask you one question at a time, it ends up asking you 20 questions at a time. And that's overwhelming for a language learner. Okay, and you give it a roll. You are my Spanish tutor. And be explicit. Use language at no higher than Afro Intermediate Mid. Okay, so I am a Spanish learner. I took it in high school, didn't do quite well. So I want to work on it again. Okay, so since I downloaded the voice control for ChatGPT, this pops up right here. It has a bunch of different languages that you can use. I'm gonna use Spanish, for instance. So I turn this on, I press play.
Claro, estaré encantado de ayudarte con tu español. Empecemos. ¿Cómo te llamas?
I know how to answer that question. I'm so stoked. Me llamo Ngan. ¿Y tú?
Me llamo ChatGPT. ¿De dónde eres?
Okay, again, my name was kind of special, so I didn't catch my name. But the last demo I did, it did. Okay, so it asked me, where are you from? Yo soy de Estados Unidos. ¿Y tú? I'm from the US. And you?
Soy una inteligencia artificial desarrollada por OpenAI, así que no tengo un lugar de origen físico. ¿Qué te motivó a aprender español?
Oh, I wish I could have you guys watch me do this for the next 20 minutes, but we're not gonna do that. So is this actually kind of really cool to have like this question back and forth? I actually understood this question. For interpersonal speaking, maybe I would encourage the students to like not look at the text so they can actually just hear it. So I may have them like, hey, please cover the text. I want you to hear ChatGPT. So there you go. So that's interpersonal speaking. And now I have less than 5 minutes, so let me move on to presentational tasks. So if you want your students to use AI as a tutor to kind of polish your presentational writing or speaking task, you can have them use this prompt, for instance. Proofread this text, give me constructive feedback on the corrections. See, if you look at this sentence says, I go to the beach with my friends on Saturday, which is a direct translation from English. So the word order is really not correct for Chinese. So let's say the students use this prompt, right? And then the first attempt, I don't like the suggestion. It's not correct right here. It says, I want to go, I just don't like this. And it's not correct, right? So it comes to say that not everything AI spits out is great, especially if it's 3.5, the free version. 4.0 does a way better job. And then again, I want to do it again. Second attempt with 3.5. Wow, this is actually pretty good feedback, and it's instant feedback. They don't have to wait for me to give them feedback. So I encourage my students to use these tools, but also think critically, like, does this agree? Do you think this is correct? And just write a reflection for me. And okay, last task is, this is an example of what I do for my, have my AP Chinese students do. So they want to use AI as a tool to polish their journal entries, okay? So this is the prompt that I wrote for my students to use. Help me proofread this journal draft from my AP Chinese class. I am a high school student. You are my Chinese tutor for AP Chinese. Please give me constructive feedback on the corrections in English based on these categories: rich vocabulary, variety of complex structures, and comprehensibility, which is what the AP really looks for. The language of the draft should be around ACTFL intermediate low to ACTFL intermediate high. In other words, I don't want it to just give me a bunch of stuff that's native level. And do not simply translate my entire draft into English, okay? So my students would copy and paste this prompt that I wrote for them. And this is an example of a conversation that my students had. My students submitted their chat with ChatGPT as part of their assignment. So this is the draft that my student wrote. And then ChatGPT gave it a lot of feedback in different categories. I think the feedback is actually it's fine. And then here's the improved paragraph. Usually this is just grammar free, right? It's pretty good. And then my student engages in a conversation with chat, like, why did you use this instead of that? And it explains why this instead of that, and then explains. And my student was so persistent on like learning, getting to the nitty gritty of all the feedback that chat gave him. And so I feel like during this chat process, he actually learned a lot about some of the word choice that AI suggested for him. All right, so how do we cite ChatGPT? I do use chat to generate a lot of listening and reading content. And so I want to model responsible use of AI. So I do include the citations at the end with the whole chat that I have with AI. And so if you have MLA, you want to do MLA Chicago APA, the links are here. And I have a lot of resources and tools that you can check out. And I think I have less than a minute for questions and answers. Okay, feel free to grab the mic if you have any questions. There's Filipino speakers and Speechify. Yes. Yep.
So quick question.
Yes.
Your students have access to ChatGPT on campus then?
Yeah.
And when you subscribe to the ChatGPT 4.0, they all have access to that, or?
No, they have to pay for it. So they don't have, my students don't have access to 4.0.
So they just use the 3.5.
I do. They use 3.5. Yeah. Even sometimes in class, they have all the steps and they would just use ChatGPT in class. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.